What's up, Union Arena players? This is Kyle D, better known as University. So this is going to bring you to school, and we're going to actually look at the data and see what decks are topping at your locals. And without further ado, let's get into the video, shall we? A nice friendly reminder, there will be links of hashtags that I would like you guys to use to help me find the videos while you find your decks, or if you go place it in this Facebook, we'll be able to cover more of the data quickly and get more accuracy. Right now we got basically one from, this would be technically week 2-ish, but this is our full week. This is a full week. We had 10 wins with Kurapika. We had Bleach Ichigo at 7 to 9 wins. Then we kind of had Toshiro following up into the 4 to 6 range with Byakuya following behind. I think Byakuya and Purple Bleach are kind of two separate entities, but some people will probably try to just lump them in together, so the data will skew out a bit. I view my deck more of a Byakuya deck that focuses around Byakuya compared to focusing more on Ichigo. So keeping that in mind as our rhetoric and viewpoints, we kind of have a good point of view that this, if you just combine these, this would be kind of where you are at. Remove the Byakuya and call it a day. So just keep that in mind here. Then we got the Volduck family taking up 3 wins this week. Plus, we had 2 wins on our Basby, good friend, Yellow Quincy decks. 2 wins classification with specified slots. 2 wins with Bombers. 1 with a Gone, and then we got 1 with Captain Yamamoto. But the Shadow Troops kind of disappeared and falled off for a little bit right now. So maybe we'll see a reoccurrence next week of, them. But if not, no big deal. But taking a look, though, we have a good idea what's coming along. Let's take some looks at some lists, though. First off, we're going to talk about the Bombers. I saw this one. This is a pretty good one. Bombers has a unique playstyle and able to handle most threats, and then you have to kind of neg the board a little bit to interact, which is really good. It is a very control-less style of play, which is really solid. I think Bombers have a lot of potential with what it wants to do, and maybe in the future we'll see more Bombers come up, but I definitely know Bombers does a lot better once it gets its Wave 2 support. And once it does that, then watch out. Bombers can be very scary. Then you do have Green Gone. Green Gone is just basically starter deck slapped together and kind of just goes for it. Nothing wrong with that. The starter deck is pretty solid enough to actually do well. So good job on this. Then the Volduck family. Or is this? Oh, this is Shadow Troop. Sorry, guys. I messed up. So Shadow Troop got 1 win. So this is a Shadow Troop because Cholo is in the list. Let's fix that. So, yeah, we had 2 Volducks, 1 Cholo Shadow Troops. Yeah, so this is Shadow Troops. My bad. When I see him, I thought this was Volduck, but no, this is Cholo. Got it, Shadow Troops. Then you have the regular Volduck family. I don't know how this deck plays, to be honest with you, but people are enjoying the list. Then another Volduck. This one's pretty solid as well. I know it's hard to see. I wish I could rotate on these images, but I'll work on those. Then we got the none other than specified slots. Specified slots, very much basically a very powerful draw deck. When this deck starts drawing, most decks don't keep up with its draw consistency. The big thing comes down to is that it does have the abilities with its Gones and Biskies to kind of control the field. But remember, they are all based on the ideology of unique specified slots. If you don't have unique, you're not really doing much in the matchup. So make sure you get as many different ones as soon as possible. It definitely helps out in the list building. So keep that in mind when you're deck building. Then we do have Kurapika. Kurapika, we're just gonna say we know what this deck does by now. With the ability of Snipe and Impact, there's not many decks that can actually keep handle and control of what this deck can do. And then having your person, having this dude right here say, you're gonna now have to block, and when I win the battle I draw a card, is kind of nutty to me. And being at a 4000 DP base kind of upsets me a little bit. He should have been at least 35 in my opinion instead of 4000 to guarantee, because most decks don't have a 5000 DP sitting base blocker. So that's just my opinion. Him being at 4,000 should never have been. It should have been at 35. But we have another Kurapika, as you can see. Taking a look, second place. Another Kurapika, first place. Then you have another Kurapika. Very similar lists. They're all kind of not changing up much. Then you have another Kurapika. Just taking a look. Another Kurapika. Wow. You know, with Neon plus Kurapika, it's a very strong deck. Then we're getting into Ichigo's. This one is a Byakuya Ichigo focus. So it's kind of split down the middle, where Byakuya is very much focusing on using the field minusing to take advantage. I love the Soifan tech. It's a very interesting tech for some lists, especially because of how she is worded. If, you know, use Byakuya to minus them down with his natural effect, then you play Soifan. Even if they didn't die, Soifan's effect now triggers, and Soifan will now kill it at the start of their turn because it only checks when she is played. So now Soifan's basically instant kills on the start of their turn. She goes into your into your energy line, rested, and boom. It's really good for early game, I'm gonna say, because early game aggression, she is very powerful to do so. I think when it comes down to later in the game, where it starts, your health is starting to diminish, she's not as good as you want her to be, because you're now losing a blocker. So I think early game, she is a very powerful card. When it comes down to late game, I think she struggles just a little bit to keep that late game shenanigans. Here's my list. First one went 5-0. So yeah, we started max raritying it after after Friday, but I'm really excited with this list. I'm very comfortable with it. I love Byakuya to be able to minus the board, comboing with its its trigger that basically is a very powerful one to be able to play a guy. So I think it's a little bit better and easier. I know you have the Ichigo that does the same exact thing, but I mean, you won't be able to play the Ichigo anyway with its own effect. So you're going to just use Byakuya, just having the little guy in there. Just make sure you leave one in there just in case this is one of your triggers. So taking a look, really solid list. And then here's my Friday one that I went 4-0 with. So out of 9 rounds, I went undefeated for 9 rounds, which is really good. I really like my Byakuya list. I definitely removed, as you can see, I removed the Rukia here to become my raid Ichigo, to bring it up to being 5 Ichigo targets, because we do have a higher Ichigo lineup, which is not bad. I might do some little more tweaking and then we'll be in the right spot, but it might be one more raid Ichigo, the one with the impact ability, and then probably maybe Renji. I want to try out Renji next. I'm going to see if Renji's actually really good, because Renji plus Byakuya can lead to being, you know, devastating, clear the board just as its own. Then you don't need to use Senbon and Sakurai, and you can save it for later. So definitely got to say it's 3 Getsuga and then 1 Senbon for this list. I think is very comfortable. You could definitely just remove Senbon and just go 4 Getsuga if your player base is starting to tick up on, you know, green Kenpachis, because green Kapachi just laughs at any negative board state. So just something to keep in mind when you're deck building is that that green Kapachi being able to not get his DP minus is a very annoying threat. So there's only a couple ways of dealing with it, and that is using Getsuga Tensho, and that's really it. Or they have to block with it. So the likelihood of them blocking with it, unless you have all 4,000s and they're on their last life, there is no way they're not going to trade up that Kenpachi. So just keep that in mind when you're watching out for lists like this. Then another Byakuya, kind of similar to mine actually, but does a double Senbone. He's not a bad card to get your pieces back. I don't think it's a bad trade up here. And another Soifon in the list as well. So definitely good to see. Fluffy, you did a great job. And it's a very solid list. I'm not going to complain. I definitely might try Soifon as well as another option of early game removal, which I have no objections for, you know? And then now we're getting into Ichigo itself, where it's more focused. Well, this was Renji Ichigo, which, again, not a bad thing for an upgraded starter deck. So for players that are trying to get into the game, this is definitely a good way of starting out. And then here's an Ichigo list, a little bit more high end, using only 2 Byakuyas, 4 Getsugas, and the 4 Ichigos. There's going to be a lot of debate right now, but I definitely feel a lot of players are on the 2 Rukia, which, don't get me wrong, I think that's where we're at until we see our 0-drop Rukia. I think the fact that we are on a higher cost Rukia to facilitate our plays is really hurting us a little bit, because she's not going to come in as early as we want. Because again, back in JP, 0-drop Rukia goes into this Rukia pretty quickly, so then you're just tempoing very, very quickly, and that makes some nice benefits. But now that you're doing 3-drop Rukia basically, and then raiding, you're kind of just not getting the value out of it. I mean, at least with the 0-drop Rukia, she'll swing in for early aggression, and if or you use her as a chump block, she's gonna get that value. So definitely good to see where these lists are going. Taking another look, another one that's starting to max rarity. It's pretty cool to see where they're going. And then, you know, here's Captain Yamamoto, definitely taking 3rd place, which is really nice. Captain Yamamoto is really solid of a deck. You just need to be a very confident pilot with it. I think it's a very rewarding deck once it starts going off, so just keep that in mind. And then, oh, wow, why did you skip here? This is another purple Bleach with Ichigo. Just the same thing. Everybody's kind of on the 2 Rukia, which is not bad. I'll have to look at the research and development card for sure. Taking a look though, here's the Toshiros. Toshiro is not a bad one. Some decks are starting to tech in Yamamoto just to combo off, which is not a bad deal. And then another Toshi deck. So Toshiro, great job RJ. Just taking a look, he's been tweaking this every day kind of situation. He's kind of getting into where he wants the list to go, and it's good to see where his design path is going, because it's really interesting, and his thought processes are really good when it comes down to it, especially in his viewpoints of, you know, draw is important, and especially if you're not drawing, you're not keeping up tempo. Again, consistency is key with a lot of deck building, and this is why he's probably never going to get off this Unohana here, just because of the fact that it's a draw card. And then Yellow Bleach, this is Basby. So this is a very interesting list for a lot of players, because this is focusing on Jurim and Asnot. Asnot will suspend, Jurim will take cards out of the hand, and then you focus on Basby. If you can suspend and lock down their board, Basby will make a few punches in, and your opponent is just never going to enjoy that. So just keep in mind that with Basby, being able to punch in is really scary. Then we did get a Yuhabog Bombietta Asnot. So what's really nice is that there is some decent headway, where I know that, oh, they're not playing the good one. So they're playing the Asnot 3-drop instead of the Yuhabog. So their focus is definitely more on Asnot combo with Bombietta. So Asnot's really scary as well, because Asnot can literally, with its trigger, lock down a, you know, let's say Kurapika if they hit it. And then basically you just play Bombietta the following turn, and then you answer your opponent's board state. So I think this has a lot of potential to see where they're going with yellow. And it's going to take definitely a deck with a very strong pilot, to be honest with you. But all in all, this is where every deck kind of landed, which is really good to see in the first kind of full week. Definitely, like I said, this could easily just be combined of the two and just go like this. But I definitely view Byakuya and Ichigo focus kind of their own separate thing at the moment, but you can tell me differently. So what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.